Unfortunately, over the last year, I have thought every single day, night, every moment of every possibility of something that could happen to him, where he could have gone, if he had gone with someone, if someone took him willingly, unwillingly, if he'd run away and got lost, if he'd a million different things. And unfortunately, I don't know.
But Katie and a private investigator she retained believe this piece of surveillance video taken the night that Sebastian went missing could be a lead in the case.
1217, a couple 100 yards away, there's a figure.
The Sumner County Sheriff said the video has no relevance to the case, but the Proudfoots aren't dismissing it until the identity of the person is confirmed by investigators. Unfortunately, any possible break in Sebastian's case has gone nowhere.
I pray that if there is anything even remotely in it that could help us find Sebastian, I pray that it is I don't know how to word it, but it's followed up and found out and confirmed one way or the other, because, you know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the video. I know it's in it. It actually gives us more rejuvenated hope that we may actually be onto something. We just have to run it down. We've got to figure this out. And with law enforcement doing what they can, and with the help of like TBI, the FBI, all of that. I mean, I believe Secret Service was involved in the beginning. Maybe they can look at this video as well.
Saying, I have a gut feeling, Nick, you're lying. I told you, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Has my story changed? Are you saying at some point that I had said it was a criminal investigation? It's entirely possible at some point. Early on, because of the Amber Alert, they said they're treating it like a criminal investigation. But they never found any evidence. And if that's the case, they backtracked it, whatever. In recent months, as far as I can remember now, and what I talked with them this weekend, they told me this is an investigation, not a criminal investigation. Now, maybe that'll change. And again, it doesn't matter. If you want to call it criminal, that's fine. Whatever the I'm just glad they're investigating, okay?
So first, thank you both for taking the time to come talk with me. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
So here we are. So it's an entire year after Sebastian's disappearance. There's no really strong lead. There's no sighting yet. So tell me what you're feeling now. Here we are 1 year later.
I struggle to put words to how it feels, honestly. The amount of ups and downs, the amount of like possible leads that haven't panned out. We every day, you know, it's like waking up to this reality that it's actually real. And I mean, Sebastian should be home with us. I mean, he should be in school, he should be playing, he should be learning, he should be experiencing life. And until we can find him and until we can bring him home, we're going to keep doing everything we can to make sure that people don't forget about him. We're going to keep making sure that we spread awareness for him, and we're going to keep searching, and we're definitely going to keep praying.
You've told me you do want to stay positive. I know you both want to stay positive. That's all part of it. So in your mind, do you see Sebastian coming back through your front door? Do you feel he's okay, he's alive, he's out there?
I dream about it every day. I dream that one day I'm gonna wake up and this is gonna be a nightmare, but yes, I believe that my son is out there somewhere. I believe that we are going to find him. We are going to bring him home, and we're gonna find a way to recover from this, and I'm gonna watch him grow into a young man and, you know, live the life that he deserves to have.
What would you say to him when he walked in that door?
Oh God, I don't even know if I'd be able to speak. I'd probably bulldoze him down with hugs. Honestly, when I picture that, I just picture being able to hug him, to hold him, to smell him. I mean, just to be able to hear his voice, to hear his laugh, to see him just be with us and be okay is like I can't wait to see my son. I want to find him so bad.
You think he's coming home, right? How would you describe what you all have experienced this last year with so many unanswered questions still?
It's horrific, to be honest with you. I don't know how to describe what it feels like to watch the news, to go hang flyers in every store, every business, every place that you go to, and still find that some people don't even know about it. To hear that there might be a lead, and then just to sit there and have to wait and find out that it's not him yet. And
it's pure hell. I mean, there's nothing you can, there's no words, there's no way to put how this actually feels. And anybody that can, I don't see how. I mean, it's day-to-day life changes and you're stuck. It's almost like it feels like it's a Groundhog Day thing, where it's the same thing over and over. You wait and you hope a phone call may come in, you may get something, may get a lead. Turns out to be nothing. That's how it feels.
What is that message? I know we were talking earlier last week. Tell me what that message is that you want to make sure our viewers hear from you tonight.
I want to thank everyone who is searching. I want to thank everyone who is spreading flyers, spreading awareness. I want to ask everyone not to forget, and I want to encourage people to keep helping and to keep bringing awareness, not only to our son, but to all of the missing children, because they all deserve to go home. And I would also like to say that if my son could hear it, that we love him so much, and that we are going to keep searching, we are going to keep looking, we are going to find him, and we are going to bring him home.
Describe your hope right now.
I'm trying to be positive as I can, because I know that my son is out there. I struggle to find words to even describe how it feels anymore, because it's a living nightmare, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the fact that Sebastian is out there and that we are looking for him, and we're going to keep looking for him, and we're going to keep praying to God that he is okay, and we're going to bring him home.
This story, we know it's baffled our Hendersonville community. We know it's baffled the mid-state community. It's baffled much of the country as they hear about it. Is there anything that stands out to you that's the most baffling? Like you're just trying to understand?
How we've gone this long and still haven't found him, honestly, is... I don't understand how we haven't found him yet.
Why do you think Sebastian is still missing?
That's tough to say. I mean, it was the largest manhunt in Tennessee history for a child. And absolutely zero evidence. There's nothing out there. Law enforcement's working due diligently. They are working hard over and over and over. You know, we appreciate everything they do. I mean, it is an active investigation, so I don't want to go into it. But it is mind-blowing at the same time that it's been a year, and the amount of people that still don't know about this, it's unnerving, basically.
And I know you both want to try to get the word out as much as possible, and that's what this story, obviously that's what we're trying to do as well. There are many people who still do not know that you all have hired a private investigator. What can you tell me about the video that he recently has discovered and wants to share? I know this has been shared with authorities now.
Yes.
It has.
This is involving the neighborhood that you live in.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell me about that video?
It's eye-opening to see that this is something that recently has surfaced, and it's been this long. It's just taken that long to find something. And what the video shows is kind of mind-boggling. We went from potentially not having a sighting to potentially having a sighting. And it kind of changes, like, wait a minute, now we may have something to actually work off of and move forward with and see where this goes. Exercise every avenue till its fullest.
No
It doesn't
stone
matter.
unturned.
No stone unturned. And Katie, you told me earlier you were determined to get to the bottom of this, to get to the bottom of that video.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that could possibly be something that could lead us to him. We're gonna keep looking. We're gonna keep digging and keep finding and confirm if it is or isn't, because, I mean, if it's possible, then it's got to be confirmed.
How hopeful are you that this video truly has something that could lead to finding Sebastian?
I pray that if there is anything even remotely in it that could help us find Sebastian, I pray that it is I don't know how to word it, but it's followed up and found out and confirmed one way or the other, because, you know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the video. I know it's in it. It actually gives us more rejuvenated hope that we may actually be onto something. We just have to run it down. We've got to figure this out. And with law enforcement doing what they can, and with the help of like TBI, the FBI, all of that, I mean, I believe Secret Service was involved in the beginning. Maybe they can look at this video as well. Let's bring people back to the table, and let's exercise every possibility of enhancing this video, looking at whatever, and tackling what it is to get an answer.
Now, this is your chance to respond, to speak out, to speak your mind, whatever it is that you want to say. But you know, no matter what the story is, there are always people who will point fingers. What do you want to say to anyone out there who wants to say that one of you could have something to do with Sebastian's disappearance?
I would say to pause and to think, and I would say to consider the sources of information. Try to make sure that you're getting legitimate information. Avoid the rumors. And I would say that everyone should pause and remember why we all came together in the first place, and that is because Sebastian's missing, and because I'd like to believe that we all want to find him. And no matter what anyone's personal opinion is, that the most important thing still remains, that Sebastian needs to be found and Sebastian needs to come home. And I would just say thank you to everyone and anyone that is a part of that.
So let's say Sebastian is listening when this is running, and he hears you, he sees you. What do you want to say to him?
I would say that I love you so very much, and that I hope that you're okay. And I would say that know that we all love you, and that there are so many people that care and so many people that are looking, and hang in there and know that we're gonna find you, know that we're gonna bring you home. I miss him so much.
So at this point, it's keep searching. People keep looking.
Keep searching, keep looking. We keep putting up new flyers. I know a lot of places, they take them down after so long. We just keep going back and putting more up. I refer to my original request just to anyone that's willing. Don't let him become forgotten. Don't let him become lost in the next story. Not to supersede other children, because they all deserve just as much, if not more, attention, because all children do. But I would say just please don't let him become forgotten and lost, because we're never gonna stop. We're never gonna let that happen if we can help it.
With his autism, is there anything else that we should add that you want the public to know right now?
I would say that he is what they would consider high functioning. He's not, he doesn't struggle with verbal communication, but he does, he does struggle sometimes with expressing himself, is I guess the best way that I could put that. But he's so smart, and he's so capable, and that I think the initial image of him that was portrayed was misleading to an extent. And I think that in the chaos of trying to get the initial information about him out, that various things got taken and misconstrued. So I would just tell everyone that he's smart, he's capable, he's funny, he's able to speak to you and to recognize things. You know, he's a teenager, and you know, so he's a young man, honestly. He just had a birthday, and I'm sure that his mustache is coming in more. I mean, he really is a good kid.
What do you miss most about your son?
Oh, God. I miss his smile. I miss his laugh. I miss going and doing fun things with him. I miss taking him to get a haircut and him saying, "Mom, feel my head." I miss cooking dinner with him. I miss game nights. He would play Uno until the sun came up if you let him. You know, he goes through phases of which games he's into, but, you know, I miss him. I miss everything about him, the good, the bad. I miss his attitude. I miss, you know, him trying to eat all the sweets instead of dinner. I miss him stealing my Brussels sprouts while I'm trying to cook them.
Oh. I sense
miss his
lots
big
of joy
personality.
that's being missed right now.
Green tea.
His jokes, the way he laughs when he tells a funny. He had, there's a video that I put out that he was being goofy, and he had this like half gallon of green tea that he had gotten from the grocery store, and he thought of this joke, and he ran in the kitchen and he grabbed a green cup and he was like, "Mom, green tea!" And it was just so funny, and I was just like, "Dude, hold on, you gotta do that again." And I grabbed my phone and I was like, "You gotta do it again." And he was like, "Green tea!" And he was just like, it's not in the video, but he was just rolling because he just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And
He's got some quirky one-liners.
oh God, he was getting he was getting to where he had some good ones.
Sounds like a great sense of humor.
It was definitely developing. He was coming into his sarcasm. You know, like one of the other videos I released, when it's hard to hear, but we were bowling, and because he has a lot of fun with it. He actually was getting a lot better without bumpers, but he like rolled a good roll, and he turns around and he's like, "You got wrecked, Mom." And I was just like, what is happening right now? But I mean, I miss that, you know. I miss being able to hang out with him, you know, because he's not little anymore, you know. Which we had a lot of fun when he was little, but when they get older, you know, you start being able to do different things with them, and you know, game nights are, God, they're a blast sometimes.
We didn't have pool days this year.
Yeah, pool days. That's big in the summer. He loves to go to the pool as much as possible.
Swimming.
Swims. Oh God, he loves to swim. He's I don't know if I put that picture out or not, but there's one that I took of him. He has on this like giant, I think it was a flamingo, and he was just like just being a cool guy.
Being a fun kid. For our viewers, before we end this, I guess your message for them is just keep hope alive.
Yes. Remember him.
Keep looking.
Share his face, because talking about him is what we want to do, but we want to make sure that people know his face. We want to know that people know who they're looking for, and we would just ask that everyone just kind of be aware of your surroundings in general. You never know, and all it takes is just one person that could make a difference. And go ahead.
I would say, if anything, constantly being vigilant, just looking out there, aware of what your surroundings are. Please, if you see something, call 911, call TBI. I know there's a lot of other things out there, but
We would encourage.
it needs to be segregated, like just a single point of right back to law enforcement. That's where it needs to go. Anybody that sees anything, just report it, please.
Do you feel that there's someone out there right now that knows something? They're just not saying it?
It's hard to say until we can run down this video and figure out what we're seeing. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to, because it's an active investigation. I don't want to add any more
Rumor.
chaos that's already out there. We just want to keep this to the core, Sebastian.
Keeping hope alive.
Yes.
The
Keeping
search
hope
goes
alive.
on. We are hopeful and we are praying for you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which is to viewers.
My message would be, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for helping spread his flyer, his story.
Good evening, everyone. This is Nick Barris coming to you Facebook Live. We're coming to you on a Monday night, and this is on the Sebastian Rogers case. We're doing this because this week is 1 year since the 15-year-old boy with autism disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. So it's been 1 year, and I know so many people have followed this case from frankly, all around the country. I mean, it's gone everywhere. A lot of people have been involved. So many of us care and think about this boy and want answers and want to know what the very latest is. Sebastian disappeared this week, but specifically it was Sunday night to Monday morning, and that would have been February 25th or February 26th. That is, the 26th will be this Wednesday. But I'm doing this now because it was coming off a weekend from a Sunday night to Monday morning when he disappeared overnight. Thought to have left barefoot and with a flashlight, and then was reported missing by his mother, who he was with that night at that home. And since then, not a trace. And so what I wanted to try to do here is just give you the latest of what I know about the case. There are a lot of rumors, a lot of scenarios out there on social media, which is fine because it keeps his name out there. But what I'm dealing with here is basically what I know to be factual, what I know, not my assumptions, not what I think, but more along the lines of what I've been told from those who are very close to the investigation. So who am I getting this information from that I'm going to be sharing with you the basics today? The information I'm getting from where I have had direct contact within just the past week, checking back in with them, is Eric Craddock, who is the sheriff of Sumner County, okay, who from the beginning has headed up this investigation there in Sumner County. He was not the sheriff at the time that this happened, but has since become the sheriff. He heads it up. So Eric Craddock, spoken with him directly. All right, Ken Widener, who's the director of Sumner County EMA. He's not so much as an investigator, but he's in charge of every time a tip comes in of going out and searching and tracking down to see if there's anything to it. They respond. They're the emergency crews that go out and respond to that. And then I've also talked and had close contact with the man who would be involved if this ever becomes criminal, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but that is the District Attorney Ray Whitley, who stays very close contact with investigators, including, I'll mention who else I've been in contact with, some sources within the TBI who are involved in this case. But Ray Whitley is the District Attorney. He meets and talks weekly with investigators, standing by, wants to know what's going on, what the latest is with all of that. That's where my information is coming from. Of course, I talked to some other people close to the case, people in the neighborhood, people like this who have been at candlelight vigils, the like. At one time or another, I've had contact with Sebastian's parents, but have not had any contact with them recently. They've certainly done a lot of interviews over the past year, not only on TV, but on social media. So you've heard from them as well. So that's where I'm coming from. And I know there may be some people out there that say, well, Nick, we just don't believe in law enforcement. We're not going to put our stake in law enforcement. Where's the FBI? Well, the FBI is involved to a degree that they are behind a $50,000 reward for Sebastian. I'm just looking for the latest on that. They're asking for tips to be sent to them, but also specifically to 1-800-TBI-FIND. But look, there are people that say, well, we don't have faith in law enforcement to continue this investigation. They haven't broken it after a year. Look, if you've followed missing children cases in the past, and I've covered sadly enough of them, these are not easy cases to solve. And I've followed many investigations in my career. And frankly, there have been some over the years that I felt, God, they kind of dropped the ball on this. They haven't done everything they could do. As far as I can tell, and no one's telling me to do this, I have no stake in this except I want Sebastian found safe and sound. As far as I can tell, law enforcement from the very beginning, with the search and everything else, did this textbook and used every resource that they possibly could, and they continue to do so. So if there's people out there say, well, I want to go with these, I think Dog the Bounty Hunter and others are involved. Hey, good for them. I'm glad they're involved. They're not here. They haven't been on this from the very beginning. They haven't seen all that's been done. I think the more people involved, the better. But I'm not here to slam anyone. And I'm certainly not here to say, well, I don't buy law enforcement. I'm just going to go along with some guy says on social media. It's not the way to do it. And I think that's born out of frustration that we're all feeling right now, and we wish it could be solved. Let me tell you this. No one is more frustrated and disturbed by the situation with Sebastian, aside from his family, of course, than law enforcement. They desperately want this solved. And I can tell you right now, District Attorney Ray Whitley would love it if this case turned criminal and that there was a suspect brought before them. He would be ready to prosecute and go after them immediately. But that gets to this other point about some of the things that I wanted to hit on that is new. And then I'm going to look at your comments and try to answer what I can. Okay. But look, I've talked to them. This is not a criminal investigation. Okay. And a lot of you are going to say, well, the $50,000 reward from the FBI and it's not a criminal investigation. Let me just explain what that means. And I've talked with not only the DA, but the police chief, or rather the sheriff, this past week. And asked them specifically, again, people are wondering, is this a criminal investigation now? And they say, no, Nick, what this is an investigation. We're looking into it and looking for any possibility. That does not mean we're ruling out a criminal investigation. But at this point, there is no evidence to indicate something criminal. So we are not calling it a criminal investigation. And you're like, well, how else could a 15-year-old just suddenly vanish? He had to be abducted. Potentially, sure. I hear what people are saying about that. 15-year-olds like this just don't vanish, do they? But there can be other explanations. And in the absence of any physical evidence, any eyewitnesses, any video that really shows him being grabbed or abducted or something bad happening, they're just calling it an investigation. It is not a criminal investigation. There are no suspects. From the very beginning, yes, the first suspect whenever something like this comes down are those closest to the person who's missing. And that would be the parents. Oh, you bet. I've said this time and again. They have vetted his mother, stepfather, and biological father. They have checked and double-checked their stories. They have interviewed them. The family has cooperated. They haven't lawyered up and clammed up and not cooperated with police from the very beginning. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, his mom, she was the one there. She had to be. Really? Give us the proof. Where is it? Okay? I mean, you can go ahead and guess or whatever. There's no proof. To this point, there's no evidence whatsoever that anyone close to him had any involvement in what happened to him. So what else could have happened? He could have wandered off on his own. He could have fallen into some crevice that they haven't searched, which I find hard to believe, and he has not been found and got hurt. He maybe somehow ended up somewhere where he was in a dumpster for some reason and got carted away, even though they have searched a landfill. I don't know. I'm as at loss as anyone else. So in the absence of all else, do you think there's a possibility he was grabbed or abducted? Absolutely. And law enforcement will acknowledge that is a distinct possibility. But they say at this point, there is no evidence of that. They don't see anything trust me, if there was some inconsistency or some evidence or something that pointed to any one of Sebastian's family members, they'd nail him and hope that they could break and crack him, and then Ray Whitley would prosecute. Now, I'm not saying that evidence might not surface as this continues, but as we speak here right now, there is no evidence of that. And if you're tuning in here hoping to hear some new revelation, the sad fact is here we are a year later, okay, and still talking to all of those who are close to this case. They are no further along in terms of any new leads. In fact, I'm told now the tips and the calls that had been coming in on 1-800-TBI-FIND have really pretty much slowed to a trickle. There just hasn't been much. I mean, the story is still out there. Of course, with time it fades, but it hasn't faded for law enforcement. I asked, is this now, after a year, considered a cold case, which means it's kind of on the back burner. It's not going to be solved. If something comes up, fine, but we're moving on. And they said, no, this remains an active case. We talk about it every week. We look at the possibility of any reports along the lines. All of that, okay, is something that they continue. So it is not a cold case, and it remains active. There's reward money out there. Have there been more searches? Some people said, well, they were going to wait for the change of seasons and go out here. I know that there have been private searches conducted. I know family members have been involved in searches. I know Ken Widener has had crews out in response to certain things. I know there have been photographs sent from around the country. I had some photos sent to me today from someone who saw a person that looked like Sebastian in Salt Lake City. I think it was probably a few weeks ago that I was someplace, I'm trying to remember where it was, and I saw someone that resembled him. And you know, I just walked right up and stared at him, all right? I mean, I didn't just, oh, that might be him, I'm going to call it in. If I see someone that looks like Sebastian, I'm going up and checking. I've seen enough photos that I can tell up close if it's him or not. And I went up there. He may have thought I was a little weird. What are you looking at? But I went up there to look at him and just kind of glance. And I realized, no, that's not him. But I checked it out. Almost all of these photos, a lot of people say, well, I thought I saw someone, or there was a report in Seattle or the airport in Salt Lake City and whatever. They do their best to track those down. You know, there have been some photos from around the region here during the past year that showed someone that looked like him. They vetted that out and found out it was not him. So it remains just a confounding mystery. I'm trying to think where else to go with all of this. It's just heartbreaking to me. You know, I try to think of other cases. Summer Wells, of course, comes to mind. That's the tragic case out of East Tennessee. And that little girl has never been found. A lot of people thought maybe her parents were involved, but law enforcement never found a link to that. And she remains missing. She was, I think, only 5 years old. Another one, Joe Clyde Daniels. He disappeared. And again, after the fact, his father, under questioning, confessed to killing the boy. And there was a trial, and he was convicted, and he's serving life in prison. But had the father never confessed, had he not broken, that case would never likely be solved, because Joe Clyde's remains still have never been found. People disappear. We can go back years. Janet March, remember that case from the 90s? Her husband, Perry March, is serving life in prison for killing her, but it took a while to get him, but her body has never been found. So a lot of people who say, well, law enforcement's not doing a good job, they're not doing enough. I mean, there is a lot of pressure on them. But finding this when they do everything, sometimes things are like this. The Holly Bobo case. Holly Bobo disappeared for a long time. They had these suspects. Law enforcement looked everywhere. And finally, it was several years later that her remains were found by a ginseng hunter in the woods. That's what it took. They had searched every place else as best they could. So these types of things happen where they can't find anything. The one thing that gets me here is that there's just no sign. It's as though he vanished into thin air. The dogs were out there. People are going to ask, were dogs used? Yes, dogs were used very early on. Drones were used early on. They've checked the ponds. They've checked caves. They've gone a large distance around the area. You would have thought, a scent that would have continued. But Ken Widener said a lot of people early on thought, well, the dogs hit on a scent and it died and ended at a pond, which, by the way, they searched. And he goes, that really wasn't true. We didn't know about that. What other evidence was there? There was some evidence that I had from early on. I got it about the same time law enforcement did, you may recall, of what appeared to be some lights outside the family home in the middle of that night. It looked like lights moving, but you really couldn't make anything out. I had the story. It's out there. Many of you have probably seen it. Not long after I ran that story, law enforcement eventually had it too and analyzed it and then came back and said there's nothing of evidentiary value in that video. To this day, I still don't know or have a good explanation for what those lights were, but they're telling me unless something new develops right now, they don't think that has anything to do with why Sebastian disappeared. I still have my questions about it, but I take them at their word. Last week, a video surfaced by a private investigator. A couple of local media outlets, I think, ran with it. I don't know if they ran with it before they talked to law enforcement, but law enforcement said they had that video since 72 hours after the boy disappeared. They had already vetted it. The district attorney told me straight up, Nick, there is nothing to this. It is of no evidentiary value. It is not a big break in the case like someone reporting. Yeah, and even if it was something significant that they thought, you can't make anything out from that video. You're not making out a face. You can't tell who it is. So there's been some videos out there that haven't guided us anywhere. That's the other thing. This neighborhood, very dark without a lot of lights. Not too many cameras captured anything. So the circumstances to this day, my heart goes out to the families, the mother, the stepfather, the biological father, all care deeply about this boy along with everyone else, and we so much want it solved. But here's the sad fact. The longer a child is missing, the less likely that child is found. Law enforcement right now, a year later, say, we cannot tell you whether or not Sebastian is alive or dead. It's heartbreaking. But where is he? Was he abducted? Was this child slavery or something like that? Why would they target a 15-year-old with autism? So many things just don't really add up. So every time I think I'm on a theory that might make sense, I think it through and say, no, that's not, and I just am at a loss. And I can tell you there are certain things about this case that law enforcement feels they cannot talk about publicly still. And they're not going to discuss some of their theories that they can't prove, but they have theories, trust me. And they try to find evidence matching the theories, but there's nothing. There's nothing. And that's the frustrating thing. I'm not saying, this is a year later, and I think on this grim milestone, it's worth doing this Facebook Live to try to, and I'll see your comments here in a moment. I'll scroll through and try to answer, but there's not much more than when I did a update 2 months ago, or when I did an update 6 months ago. There's just nothing, nothing new to report. And it's not that they aren't working it. It's an active case. And so that's what I have for you. And I wish I had more to share with you. I know so many people are following this story and have strong emotions and feelings about it. And I'm with you. And if some of you are angry or you don't understand or you don't agree with me, that's okay. Because what we're talking about, and I think regardless if there's disagreements, we all are coming from the same place. And that is hoping and praying that somehow Sebastian is found alive somehow and can be returned to his family. That's my goal. I have no, for people who say, well, Nick, you're just going along with law enforcement. Oh, Nick, you don't follow. I have no dog in this fight. No one tells me what to report, okay? I go ask the questions. I get that from different sources, and I report it at what I believe to be credible. The only thing I care about, I'm not looking for clicks on my Facebook page. I'm not looking, I get paid by the station to do my news stories every day. My sole goal is to try to keep the story out there to some degree, try to answer your questions, and hopefully help in some way solve this case with Sebastian. That's it. I have no other dog in this fight. So I'm going to go with what I believe is factual and most credible. And I've tuned out a lot of the noise that's on social media because some of it, frankly, started getting pretty darn ugly. People attacking each other and saying, oh, that doesn't help. And I've talked to law enforcement who said throughout all of this, the social media has done absolutely nothing to help this case, and in fact has muddied the waters because it's just so out there. But again, in the vacuum of no information on what happened to him, I can understand in this day and age with social media how things explode. And I'm on social media here myself right now. But I'm going to stick to the facts as best I can and try to answer the questions that you may have. And I'll do the best I can. You may not like my answers or you may not agree with what I say, and that's fine. I think that's the case. Your feeling has sad and frustrated about this as I am. I'm just trying to be as fair and as impartial as possible. So I'm going to scroll back down through this and look at many of your questions and comments and see what we got here. Why is it all of a sudden not a criminal investigation? It's not all of a sudden not a criminal investigation. I guess maybe Elizabeth had heard that people maybe had said, well, yeah, it's criminal, or they heard investigation and they took it as criminal. It has never been a criminal investigation. It's not been ruled out. That they're not saying there's no criminal activity here. What they're saying is right now it's just a general investigation. Maybe he wandered off on his own. Maybe he was abducted. We don't know. If we decide that we have evidence that he was abducted, it'll become a criminal investigation. That's what it is. It hasn't changed, but it is not criminal. And what I mean by that is there is no evidence that something criminal happened here. You may suspect that, but unless there's blood, instance, an eyewitness, then there's no evidence. You can have the theory, but it doesn't make it real. You have to prove it. So it's not all of a sudden. It never has been a criminal investigation, ever. Let's see. Why don't you tell them directly what the Sumner County Sheriff? I did. I don't know what I've left out. What else did the sheriff tell me? That's basically when I talked with him, what he told me. It's not a criminal investigation. We don't have suspects. It is not a cold case. We are continuing to work it as an active investigation. And the number of tips have dwindled significantly. I mean, that's basically what I'm not keeping anything from you. Now, he may be keeping something from me. And in the investigation, I'm sure there's certain things the TBI doesn't want to share, perhaps. But I'm telling you what they tell me. That's all. I'm not keeping anything from you. Let's see, what else? So why did it change? A lot of people think it changed. And maybe at one point some were reporting it as being criminal. I think at one point I raised that question quite often, saying, is this criminal? Is this criminal? And at some point there were some that seemed to indicate that it could become that. But all I'm saying is if that's the case, what they're making very clear now is that it is not criminal because there's no evidence that something criminal took place. There can be other reasons why Sebastian's missing besides a criminal act. But if they find evidence of it, they'll immediately call it that. And I said the district attorney's ready to prosecute the moment they go that way. So who's lying? I mean, why does someone have to say, oh, someone's lying? No one's lying. No one is lying. You think there's some mass cover-up because they don't want Sebastian found? Get a clue. All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? I have a pic of an email. He's saying, in fact, it is, look, whatever. Believe what you want to believe, okay? If you want to believe it's a criminal investigation, it changes nothing, okay? There's no suspects. There's no evidence. So believe it. If you believe it's a criminal investigation, then that feeds the narrative that, yes, clearly someone had to take Sebastian because he wouldn't disappear on his own, which, frankly, I'm inclined to agree with you. It's unlikely that he just disappeared on his own. Someone else had a hand in this. But there's no evidence of it. Without evidence, you can't call it criminal, okay? I mean, that's just it. So call it what it is. And maybe at one point an investigator said, yeah, we're looking at it as a criminal. But I'm just telling you, I talked to the district attorney. I talked to the sheriff. I talked to Ken Widener. And I talked to my sources with the TBI. And they said, hey, at this point, it is an investigation. It is not a criminal investigation because we don't have evidence of a crime other than a boy missing. And a boy can go missing for a number of reasons that aren't criminal. I mean, that's just it. I mean, I don't think that's that hard to understand. So call it what you want. You want to believe it's criminal? I don't care. Fine. Let's wait and see if they charge someone or make an arrest. I mean, whatever. Believe what you want to believe. I don't, they're saying Brandon Carter says it's a criminal. That's fine. Believe Brandon. Ask Brandon where the evidence is that proves it's a criminal. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. So, if there's times where back in early on, there may have been some that said, yeah, right now we're looking at this becoming a criminal investigation. I may have reported that because I was told we're looking at it maybe becoming a criminal investigation. We think it's going to become a criminal investigation. And there may have been some who did say it was. I'm not saying you're wrong for hearing that, but all I can say is where we stand now. Perhaps there were leads they thought were going to lead to criminal investigation. They have not come through. And so that's what I'm being told. Right now, it is an investigation. It could turn criminal. But right now, and I don't know what the big deal is. As long as they're investigating it, wherever it goes. But I think everyone's like, well, it's criminal. That means there's someone out there. Well, believe that. Do I believe someone had a hand in him? This is my belief. In him disappearing as opposed to him just vanishing on his own? I think the odds are probably, yeah. But I need proof of that. And without proof of it, it's a theory and not proof that it's criminal. Yeah, a lot of people say that the law enforcement screwed up the investigation since day one. Really? How? Were you there? I was there. I was out there. How did they screw it up? Tell me how law enforcement screwed this up from day one. Please, someone explain. Everyone's saying, so they lied to us. I guess, why would they lie? I mean, you know, what about the flashlights I told you? They told me that the flashlights don't seem to have any evidentiary value at this point, and that's what I reported. I have to go with what they tell me, unless something else comes. Finally, someone quoted the correct reward amount. It is $50,000. I heard that there was some other reward money out there beyond that, but I've learned to be very, very cautious with reward money. A lot of people throw out, oh, I'm going to pay this reward. The reward will get this big. And when the case is solved, sometimes the money that's really actually paid out to the person who helped solve the case, if there was one, oftentimes isn't as much as what they said originally, or it's hard to collect. Now, the FBI is offering $50,000. If the FBI is offering it, you solve the case, you're going to get that money. And so it is $50,000 from the FBI. But I know some of the other monies out there, I can't vouch for it, but I've heard it's at minimum $50,000. Let's see. Yeah, this one woman says, I have a friend from high school that has been missing for almost 28 years. It's like she vanished into thin air. A lot of people wondering, a lot of people saying, Nick, you told us it was. If I told you early on that it was a criminal investigation, it may have been in connection with the fact that early on, Amber Alert remains in effect for Sebastian. It doesn't necessarily mean that a child was abducted or is someone who's a victim of a crime, but it does mean a child is determined to be in imminent danger. A lot of things can go toward that. I think most of them apply to someone being taken. But all I'm saying, whatever was said before, okay, based on what some may have told us or what some of the implications were, I am telling you now that it is not criminal. That it could turn criminal. Hear me still out there. There we go. Oh, why we had a slow connection. Yeah, so I'm just trying to establish that. But I don't want to spend too much. Let's just assume, if you want, those of you who believe it's a criminal investigation and that we were told it was and that that's what they said, fine. Let's just assume it is. Okay, if it's criminal investigation and it's been criminal for all this time, they must have a suspect in mind. Why has no one been arrested? Where is the evidence that makes it criminal? That's all I'm saying. If you want to believe it's criminal, fine. Believe that. It doesn't change a thing. He's still missing, and they haven't made an arrest. So let's just go ahead and say it was criminal. I'm telling you right now, law enforcement say it is not. They may have thought it was going that direction, but they're saying nothing's developed on that front. So if I said it because someone told me that after the Amber Alert early on, I can't remember. I've done so many stories. I'm just telling you what they've told me now. But believe what you want to believe. Believe it's criminal. That's fine. It changes nothing. Whether it's criminal or not, it doesn't tell you who the suspects are. It doesn't tell you any of that. I wonder how dogs couldn't pick up his scent when the mom said he left barefoot. That's a great question. That's one of those quandaries. I don't get it. You're right. You know, and that other part about, you know, the boy leaving barefoot, why would he have gone out barefoot with a flashlight? I remember his father, Seth, telling me that when he was a young boy, he had wandered outside barefoot once and made his way over to a fire anthill and really got lit up. And he never forgot that. And so Seth said ever since then, he always wore shoes or something on his feet when he went outside. But this night, he went out in his pajamas, barefoot with a flashlight. Is what the report was, I guess, from the mother. So what would lead you to do that? I'm thinking, okay, if he leaves his house in the middle of the night, I'm guessing he heard something and wanted to go check on it. Was someone outside his window? Did he hear something? Did he grab the flashlight and go out quickly thinking, I'm just going to check on it and I'll come back in? Otherwise, he would have taken time to put his shoes on. It's a great question, you know, because he wouldn't typically go outside without shoes, but he went out really quickly. See what else we got. So many people are upset that whether I told them it was a criminal investigation at some point, or they misinterpreted what I meant, or maybe I did at one point early on. All I'm telling you is as we stand here now, and since I've last checked in with all law enforcement, they say it is not a criminal investigation. It's simply an investigation right now. So it's changed then, perhaps. No proof that any parent did something to him. That's right. That's just it. I think everyone gets upset because they hear criminal, which means, okay, that means maybe we can zero in on one of the parents or something. That's the narrative you see on a lot of social media. That's fine. Just bring the evidence. Trust me, if they had anything, they would bring it, arrest them, and get them before Ray Whitley tomorrow. You think they're playing around on this? They don't have any evidence. So that's why I say it's not criminal now. Could it become criminal? Absolutely. Let's see, what else do we have? Any questions? Why? No. Let's see. A lot of people say law enforcement did a bad job from the beginning, but no one's explaining to me how they did a bad job. They responded. They were out with drones. They circled the area. They immediately started interviewing the parents. What did they, I mean, all these people saying this. Were you out there? Do you know how these things go? I mean, I've followed the search for Summer Wells. I flew out there in the helicopter. I've seen that. I remember the massive search for Joe Clyde Daniels, which, by the way, I don't think was perfect at the beginning. Same thing with the search for Holly Bobo. Those had some problems early on. This one didn't. This one, to me, was almost textbook in the way they handled it. Were mistakes probably made along the way? Maybe some. But in my experience, and I've covered, I just named several of them, this investigation was handled properly. So I just want someone to explain it. There we go. I mean, let's see. People don't vanish. I agree. People want to know if the sheriff's department is doing drive-bys to protect the community. I don't know. A lot of people are saying, you're saying that Chris Proudfoot or Katie Proudfoot is not a suspect, the mother. Get out of here, Nick. Look, did they look at them as a possibility? I told you, everyone close to him has been vetted, and they've talked to him. They've interviewed him a number of times. They've interviewed them together, apart, to look for contradictions. They've checked any alibis, anything else. Yeah, heck yeah. Right off the bat, the most obvious persons responsible for someone disappearing usually are those closest to them. I can tell you right now, if my wife, who's downstairs on the couch watching TV with the dogs, disappears tonight while I'm up here talking to you, and I have nothing to do with it, when law enforcement shows up tomorrow, I am suspect number one. Until they look into it and realize, oh, well, Nick is on Facebook Live all night, so he couldn't have done it. I'm just saying, yeah, of course they were initially, but have they done all this vetting with the parents a year later, still nothing? Hey, maybe they committed the perfect crime, but without evidence, you cannot say they had anything to do with it. And they've cooperated. They haven't lawyered up, so yeah, go ahead and make your assumptions. That's just fine, but there's no evidence. I'm trying to think what else. Just trying to answer this for you. They aren't looking hard enough. I mean, I'd love it if they could be out there every day looking, Someone was asking me earlier today if they used luminol inside the house, which I believe they did. They searched the house all in and out. Luminol, again, is that chemical that under a dark light, when you put it out there, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it detects the presence of, say, a blood splatter, or if something violent happened in that home, say if he was attacked inside the home or something like that. Excuse me, my understanding is they did go through and search the house thoroughly using things like that and didn't find any evidence of that. Let's see. He is covering for Craddock and the mess up. He's best friends with the DA. There you go. Thank you, Sharon. I know you're tight with exactly who my friends are. Whatever. Okay, let's see what else. Saying, I have a gut feeling. Nick, you're lying. I told you, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Has my story changed? Are you saying at some point that I had said it was a criminal investigation? It's entirely possible at some point. Early on, because of the Amber Alert, they said they're treating it like a criminal investigation. But they never found any evidence. And if that's the case, they backtracked it, whatever. In recent months, as far as I can remember now, and what I've talked with them this weekend, they told me this is an investigation, not a criminal investigation. Now, maybe that'll change. And again, it doesn't matter. If you want to call it criminal, that's fine. Whatever the I'm just glad they're investigating, okay? Good point. Sebastian now would be 16. He's 5'5", 120 pounds. He's got brown eyes. He's obviously Caucasian. Let's see. Yeah. See what else we got. A lot of people are upset because, the law enforcement doesn't, provide updates on a regular basis and all this. And they could, but they've seen what's happened with everything on social media and how it's gotten out of control. But they're kind of like, look, the moment there's something more for us to share, we will. But in general, I asked them, I'd like to hear from them more often. But it's like, we'll come and go public when we have something to tell you. That's all. Let's see. Some people upset with the rude comments. Again, it's okay if you have rude comments. I get frustrated too. We're all connection again. There we go. So I understand that. So I don't blame people for being frustrated. I'm going to sit down here and see if we have a better signal. LA law enforcement's doing their job, but they're not going to tell you it's criminal. Perhaps. If they have a suspect in mind, they don't have evidence yet, and I'm sure there's things they're not telling us, then understandably, they're probably not going to come clean on that because they're working that case and they don't want that person to be on alert. So is that possible? Yeah, I don't know. I guarantee you there's things that I don't know that they're not telling me. Let's see. Someone saying something for dispersing the light video. Now they own your butt, Nick. I have no idea what she's talking about. Did not do luminol on the house or the cars. So I don't know. Someone's saying they didn't do luminol on the house and the cars. I just know that they searched the house. They went into the home and they were checking for evidence that there was some act of violence in there. They didn't find any. Let's see, what else do we have? I wasn't in there when they were doing the search. I don't know if you were. Maybe the law enforcement said one way or the other, but they did search the home, and that typically would involve luminol. Thank you, Nick. Unfortunately, some people have their minds made up with no evidence. And again, I understand the frustration. So many people, it's just this kid. All right, so again, people asking me what forensics they did on the home, because maybe that is why there's no evidence. Did they miss something there? Was it cleaned up? Keep in mind, if there was something in there, if something happened, it could have been cleaned up before they got there. I don't know. I know they went in and searched the home. Where and how they did luminol, I don't know. But they would have checked to look for evidence of blood splatter or was there some act of violence here that maybe led to him disappearing? And apparently they haven't found anything along those lines. See, a lot of people, point to the mother because she was the last one with him. I understand. But, no evidence. You think this is a mother that's lost her child, and to be accusing her with no evidence, it's heartbreaking. I don't know, this Carter dude maybe called it a criminal investigation. Whatever, that's fine. Like I said, I'm not going to argue that anymore. If you want to believe it's criminal, that's fine. Look, I hope it becomes that and they can make an arrest. That would be great. I just don't believe that's the case right now. Could change if some evidence suddenly surfaces. Someone's saying this child has a medical condition that needs medicine. You wouldn't go for a year without medicine and treatment. I don't know exactly what medicines he was on, but if that's true, that's a concern. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else we have here. Yeah, again, someone reminding, call-in tips, 1-800-TBI-FINE. One sad thing about this is that they say that the number of tips have really slowed to a trickle of late, and that's unfortunate. Nick looks worried. Don't mess with a bunch of mama bears, Nick. Hey, if you're a mama bear and you care about this kid, then we're on the same page, and believe what you believe. I'm not worried because I agree with you. It breaks my heart. Let's see. Did the LE tell you they confirmed the identity of the shadow figure? Is this in that most recent video that they debunked from last week that a couple other media? all they told me about it was that there was no evidentiary value on it. So I take that to mean that, even if there was something that they thought was important to it, they weren't able to make out who that figure was. So they just said there was nothing to it and that they had that within the first 72 hours after he disappeared. That's all they told me when I asked them about it. Why does everyone want him to be deceased? He could have just left on. Yeah, we don't know if Sebastian's dead or alive right now. I don't know anyone that wants him to be dead. It's possible, certainly, that he's alive. At least we have to hope that. But if he's not, at the very least, he needs to be found so he can have a proper burial and his parents can, deal with that, the closure. I'm sorry about the buffering. Everyone wants Eric Craddock to speak. They'd be picketing the office. What do you want him to tell you? He's not going to tell you anything different than what I just told you. That's what he's going to tell you. I want him busy working the case, not having press conferences every day. Yeah, and again, someone's saying, do you have a theory? I don't. I have several theories that have gone through my mind. I want to be impartial. All I've said today is that I believe that there's a real possibility that this wasn't Sebastian disappearing just on his own. Now, who or how and why this was involved? Did he leave willingly? Was he abducted? I don't know. Because I'm of the belief with a lot of other people that you just don't vanish without a complete trace at any moment. I'm of the belief that perhaps somehow, not long after he left that house, he ended up in a car driven away. Or the dogs would have picked up his scent somewhere else walking. If he was just out there walking around the neighborhood, they would have picked it up. So that's kind of what I think. Nick, you said it was criminal. Again, I'm not going to deal with that anymore. If at some point I said I was criminal, then it was something early on that may have been said that in connection with the Amber Alert, or they thought it might become criminal. Okay? All I know is it's changed, if that's the case. Everyone I talked to this week said it is not criminal at this point. It is an investigation. And that doesn't mean they're not looking for evidence of crime. They're looking for it. They just haven't found it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, a lot of people say, I don't know, do I have no clue, or are they saying it to someone else? Because it wouldn't be the first time I have no clue. I think the LA will probably send out, I think the TBI and law enforcement will probably send out some kind of statement, maybe have a newser this Wednesday. That would be my guess. I don't know that. I'm just guessing they might. And that'd be great, because that would satisfy some of you that just want to hear from them. It is an Amber Alert. You're correct. Yeah, let's see. An Amber Alert doesn't necessarily mean, just remember, an Amber Alert, if you look at the definition of it, it means abduction can be part of it, but it also means it's the belief that a child is in imminent danger of injury or death, something along those lines. And I'd say most of the time Amber Alerts do, but they don't always. There's no evidence that he did not walk out of the house. Okay. I don't know. Everyone's, you can tell the people that are mad, get out of here. You're a liar. Let's see. I would love the evidence. Look, everyone that wants it and wants it to be criminal, I would love it. I want that to be the case. I want evidence to show up. The detective said it's a criminal case per some post last night. So I'm not saying anyone's lying. Maybe someone said it, okay? But all I know is the people who are at the very top say it's an investigation. They haven't ruled out the possibility of a criminal act. But until they have some evidence to indicate it's a criminal act, they're just going to call it an investigation. But that's all, let's see. Has any of the parents been cleared? As far as I know, and this was an interview I did with the sheriff early on, but I think it applies today. He says no one has been cleared per se. I know early on some of the family members say, oh, we've all been cleared. He just says, look, there's no evidence that any of them did anything wrong, but we're not saying anyone's cleared yet. There could be evidence that surfaces that points to someone, and we're not going to clear them until we know for sure, what's out there. So I don't believe anyone has been cleared, but that doesn't mean that they're suspects. It just means, no, we're not going to say, oh, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this person's innocent. They're just going to say, look, there's no evidence that they did anything wrong, but we're not going to clear them. That's kind of what they're saying. So frustrating that kids disappear. I agree. Let's see. Again, on the luminol thing, I will double check that for you. I will double check that. What do I mean? What's the big deal if it is investigated criminally? No, I mean, right now it's an investigation. It's a big deal. If it becomes criminal, it's a big deal. That means they've decided someone committed a criminal act towards Sebastian. So I'm not saying that's not a big deal. I'm saying right now, whether it's called criminal or not, if those of you who just want to call it a criminal investigation now without any evidence, that's fine. It's an investigation. All I care is that they're investigating. That's what it is. Let's see. So what is the correct last seen date? And that has changed a few times. They say 25th or 26th. I think the date may have changed on the FBI report. I'll have to double check that. I don't know. People look to you and you're sharing incorrect information, says Jill. I'm going to catch some rest. You're going to catch from this because it's blowing up. Well, what's blowing up? All I'm saying is that I've been told this weekend from the DA and the sheriff that this is an investigation, not a criminal investigation at this point. But they're not ruling it out. There's just no evidence right now of who committed a crime or that Sebastian was victim of a crime, though I think a lot of people believe it could have been. Let's see. Let's see. I think Dog the Bounty Hunter, someone says, I wasn't putting it down. If he has a bounty, I just don't know how much it is. I think Dog the Bounty Hunter is legit. And if he puts a reward out there, I think it'll be paid. I've just covered other cases in the past where rewards, a lot of people offer rewards from different places. And when it's finally solved, sometimes it's hard to track down who or where was offering it. But I think the FBI, I think Dog, if this is found, I think the money will come from them. I think they're legit. So I think if Dog is offering, I think that's then pushing it beyond what the FBI is. We know the FBI is offering $50,000, which is a lot of money. This reward's been out there for a long time, $50,000 or more. And you would think if someone had some information that they would come forward for that money. And I mean, that's not a little reward. That's a big chunk of money. That's usually enough to get tips if there are some out there. That's why I'm wondering, no one's come forward. Maybe no one knows anything, because I mean, a lot of people will turn in their own mother for that kind of money. Words. What are we seeing here? I don't. Yeah, I'm with Amanda. You know, criminal investigation, just investigate wherever it leads. I mean, if you get evidence that proves it's investigation, criminal, go for it. Call it that. I just want to know that there's evidence of that. And I've been told there's no evidence a crime was committed. Does that mean that one wasn't committed? No, they just haven't found it. Someone could have committed the perfect crime here, or they just haven't found it yet. And I'm in agreement with a lot of people that, you know, it's more than likely maybe something did happen, but you have to have some evidence of that. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, seeing a lot of these. What else? A lot of people not liking some of this info. And, you know, if you don't buy what I'm saying, that's okay. You can get it someplace else. I'm just here to do my best to give you my point of view and what I've been told. Yeah, Cindy is saying, you lying person. You said that it was a criminal investigation not even 6 months ago. If that's the case, if it was in a context, depending on who told us, then it's changed. Maybe there was evidence at that point that did not pan out, and it is now something where it's just called an investigation. So, again, you know, don't get mad at me. I mean, I never said that there was a suspect or someone like this that they had in mind. If they're calling it criminal, that would have meant that they found something that indicated evidence, something physical, some blood, an eyewitness, something on a video somewhere that told them, yes, look, there's someone dragging him into a car. We don't know who it is, but that's evidence that he was taken away. That's a crime. He was kidnapped. I don't know of anything like that. So perhaps at one point they thought it was, and they've changed it. So, I'm sorry. So many people are dead set that this is criminal. We just have to have evidence of it. And I've been told this weekend, so if the story's changed, I've been told this weekend that from both the DA and the sheriff and other sources that it is simply an investigation and they're ruling nothing out. That's all I can tell you as we sit here right now. That's all. And that's about it. I'm sorry it's freezing. A lot of people saying the same things. Yeah, I'm just looking through here the rest of this. I'm sure, we'll be hearing more in the next week. I think we'll have more that comes down from the sheriff and from investigators. I think maybe they'll issue some kind of statement on tomorrow or Wednesday, and we'll follow up on that. I promise I'll follow up on it. I'll double check in again on a regular basis to say, look, there was a time that you guys indicated this might be criminal, or someone was saying it is, and now you're saying it's not. What's changed? But the sheriff and the DA have indicated it is an investigation where we've ruled nothing out, but we're not going to, at least at this time now, call it criminal. That's what I was told yesterday. Okay, so if it was reported differently back several weeks or whatever, the story has changed perhaps. Things change as they go into it. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, people get upset about this, and I'm sorry if you don't like everything I'm telling you. And hey, I could be wrong on some of this. I'm just being told and trying to share this information and keep the story out there. Whether we agree or disagree on some of this, hopefully we can all agree on one thing. As I said, the only thing that matters to me is finding Sebastian, what happened to him, hopefully finding him alive and safe, but one way or the other getting an answer to this mystery. So it's a year later. And I hope something breaks on this case in the not too distant future. So that's where we have it, guys. Appreciate you joining us. Again, I apologize if some of you weren't happy with what you've heard here, and I understand. At least I know you have a passion for finding this child, and I support that. And I'll continue to follow it. You continue to keep the word out there. And again, if any of you have information on this case that you think might be helpful, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. Good night, everyone.